Okay.
Thanks for everyone that's joining us, and thanks if you're watching this as a recording, which is meta. They aren't watching it as a recording yet, but someone might, right? So
That's right.
You're so future oriented. I love that.
I do
woo,
too.
what a compliment on a Friday. So this session is focused on Canvas 101, and we are here to help support you through your learning in this session. My name is Nicole Bryant-Lesher. I'm an English faculty member at College of the Redwoods, and I'm also a coordinator with 3CSN. And then you get to see Keelan Koenig here, and she is one of my fantastic colleagues across the state and colleagues with 3CSN. And then a moment ago, you did also see Jan's face, but I don't see her at the, there she is.
So I am live, but I'm trying to keep track of the notes. So
that works. So this is Jan, and she is also supporting our presentation today. And Jan is at Cerritos and a colleague of ours with 3CSN. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Just as an invitation and reminder to you, if you've not yet done that, would you please take just a moment and in the chat box, add your name, the college where you work, an email, and also if you could, your role, please. It really helps us to know who's in our sessions, and also to have a log to be able to reach back out to you with answers to questions, further communication, etc. So as we get started in the next couple of minutes, if you could take the time to do that, it is deeply appreciated and helps us very much focus on supporting our students. So thanks again for joining us today. A quick note about our learning objectives for our time together. And these are learning objectives that we're spanning across everything that we're doing in these sessions of webinars, with a focus first and foremost on creating a sense of community in online environments in order to support student engagement and retention. So really keeping that North Star of creating a sense of community and continuing to have people feel connected when they're working remotely. Learning together in order to support our own professional identities as they adjust and expand in this time of transition, and to provide one another with opportunities to network, to dialogue together, to build and strengthen knowledge. And again, that engaging in productive struggle, but through the support of one another in community. These goals and objectives for our time together nest really well with 3CSN's theory of change, which posits that if we provide training on networking and we use action research methodologies, community college professionals can transform their environments and their identities to create powerful learning and working across campuses. And in this time where transition is happening, perhaps even faster than we feel like we're transforming, reconnecting to that network gives us that capacity to do the work that we're going to do. So I'm so excited that we're here together today to build that capacity and continue our network moving forward. Couple notes on how our session will run today. We're going to spend about 25 to 30 minutes doing hands-on work together. Because we are functioning remotely synchronously, but in separate spaces, I would invite us to take that 25 to 30 minutes and let's get through those learning objectives together, making note of your comments and questions in the chat. And also, you know, if you want to, noting them on a piece of paper or something for yourself that way, but note them to Keelan. She'll keep a record as we're going, and then we're gonna have focused time for Q&A toward the end of our session. So we'll try and get through some objectives and then move into questions. It just helps us all move together a little bit more smoothly. That might happen. Since we have your contact information, we're going to touch back with you and make sure that those questions get answered. And we're also going to make sure to provide opportunities where you could join us in sessions that are called thought partner sessions. Think about those as online opportunities for coaching and working together, where you could pose the same question again. Know that we're looping back to it, but also if you'd like you know, a quicker turnaround or someone to really brainstorm with, that's what those sessions are for, to do more than they could do by themselves. So without further ado, to help ground us in our work together, I'd love for you to take a moment and look through this set of community agreements Think about these as norms or shared values and approaches to our time together with respect to the fact that we're learning and sharing together online. This is a set that continues to grow based on feedback we've received this week from folks in sessions. If you could, take about a minute, look over this list. I'll also read them aloud for anyone who might be listening but not have the ability to see them on the screen. And then I'm going to ask if there's anything we should add to these. So what we have so far is community agreements or shared norms for our time together. Is that if you have something that you want to say, please raise your hand digitally or put that content in the chat in order to signal a question so that we know. Please assume best intentions with large group online dialogue, right? Working together in this is a new and challenging environment. Sometimes things don't move as smoothly as they would if we were in a face-to-face situation. I will do my best to annotate and describe my actions as I'm doing them so that those with limited viewing ability or audio only options can still make sense of what we're doing. And it was suggested, we felt it was a wonderful suggestion, just for all of us to keep in mind that we are all learners right now, that we're doing our best, that it's absolutely okay to ask clarifying questions. If the way that I'm explaining something doesn't make sense, or if we just need to hear it in a different way. And then a good reminder to ourselves to keep things simple for ourselves and for students right now, and to be kind to ourselves and to our students. What else should we add to our list?
I think everybody's good with it. I'm getting no new, and Luciano, they know how to do thumbs up.
Okay.
I like it. I like it.
Yes.
All right, let's rock and roll, y'all. Let's canvas. Let's do some canvassing. All right. So I teach online quite a bit, and there's lots of things that I could tell you about Canvas. But what seems most useful for me to tell you about Canvas right now is that in order to simplify and sort of order the things that you might want to do with Canvas, I would invite you to really think about 3 goals for how you use Canvas for your purposes the remainder of this semester. And that you use Canvas in order to guide, you use it in order to connect, and you use it in order to observe and evaluate student learning. It can do much more than that, but for sanity purposes, that would be my suggestion to you. And then as we move into what we're going to do, a couple quick reminders. Our students often appear to be incredibly technologically savvy, right? They've got several devices, they toggle between them, they have lots of acronyms. My experience teaching online, maybe for many of you too, is that they are more nervous than we are, typically in those online teaching situations. They're very savvy in other spaces. They're not particularly savvy in online teaching and learning, and they're very nervous about having to be effective as students to do a good job in that online environment. So keeping that, holding that close to our chest and remembering that, especially when we feel nervous about how we're doing, helps humanize that situation, right? And there's going to be varied levels of skill and levels of access within your Canvas courses when students are engaging, right? So keeping that in mind, both of those really come to a central place of, hey, simple is good and clear is really important. So as we think about that first goal of guiding students, before we even think about what you do in Canvas, I would make a recommended note to you that you guide them to Canvas, right? And so an easy way to do that, use your campus email or whatever method of communication you've already used with your students this semester to talk with them digitally, right? For a lot of folks that's using the campus email system, send a campus email from your campus email to your students and invite them into that Canvas online environment. Tell them that's where they need to go. It works really well to link to your college's webpage because your college probably has an online learning set of resources for students that's going to have stuff like how do I get my password the first time, or you know, tutorial videos, anything like that. If you can link to that along with that invitation, and then creating that individual reach out through that email to say, I'm so glad you're here, and I know this is tough, and we're going to make it together. That's that bridge that's going to invite them into the class before they've even seen your Canvas. Absolutely, absolutely. And so let's imagine that you've done that. You've sent that email, right? So now you're starting to think about that Canvas environment. And you might have questions like, okay, I've got this Canvas shell. What do I do with it? How do I make sense of that, right? So how do I organize my content within this shell, right? And then how are students going to find their assignments? In other words, how do I use this Canvas site to guide students through their learning? Typically, I would do that in my classroom, face-to-face. Now I've got to use this third space. How do I do that? And so the answer to that in the Canvas world is something called modules. So modules are the function in Canvas that organizes content. The easiest way to think about them is to think about them as containers. A module is a container, and it can really hold anything that you want. So a module could be a container that holds a week of your class content, right? So you could organize your class week by week. Or instead, you could have modules that contain a unit of class content, right? Everything for unit 2 is in one module, everything for unit 3 is in the next module. You could have a module, you know, modules that are different types or different containers of class content. One module for all the assignments, one module for lectures or lecture videos, one module for readings. Anything that you want, however you want to lay it out in a way that makes sense to you and makes sense for what you're doing with your students. Okay? Another, I think, pretty strong benefit of modules is that Canvas will let you build those modules and publish them, and we'll talk more about publishing in a minute, but also restrict the date for those modules to open. So you can work ahead, build out the content that you want, but not make it, you know, keep it so that students can't interact with that until you want to. Just like in your face-to-face class, you might know what you're going to do with them in 2 weeks, but you don't want them to be able to do that stuff yet. You want to wait for it. Yeah, Keelan.
Jan has her hand up.
No, I don't.
Oh, you were doing it from before. Okay, let me lower it then. Got it.
Okay. I'll wave at you anyway. I'll put my hand up now. So without further ado, hey, let's make a module. Remember, these are the containers. You can use them for a number of different purposes. So let's take a tour. This is a slightly artificial tour. Think about it like a baking show, but it's really useful. So this is my this is my sandbox, right? This is not an actual living, breathing course that I have going right now because I don't want to show you student information. So this is a place for us to play and for me to demo stuff for you, okay? So if you're coming into Canvas for the first time, you're not going to see anything here. When you come into Canvas in your course for the first time, you're going to see a bunch of information over here, all these different options. And then you're going to see a bunch of information over here, all these different options. And then you'll see a bar across the top that says View Progress plus Module. But if you've not added anything to your course, you're not going to see any content in your course yet, okay? But you will in just a moment if you add a module. So let's do that. Across this top bar, you're going to see a blue box that says Plus Module. If you click on that, it's going to say Add Module, and then you can name that whatever you want. Today, let's name it Unit 6, Ice Cream. It's a Friday. I want to study an entire unit about ice cream. I don't know about you all. So Unit 6, Ice Cream. Maybe this is a marketing class, and we're thinking about, I don't know. It's a Friday. Sounds exciting. So here's that moment, right? If I'm building this module right this second, I can say, okay, we're only on Unit 3 right now, but I'm trying to work ahead. So I know that we're not going to get to Unit 6 stuff until, let's say, April. So I can click on this box directly under where I title the unit that says Lock Until, and then it's going to open up a drop-down menu for me with a calendar. And then I can choose April 18, let's say. And that is my way of telling myself and telling the students, this content is coming, but you cannot interact with it until whatever date I've put in here, like April 18th. And then I'm going to click on the blue box that says add module. When Canvas adds a module, it always puts it at the bottom of whatever else you might have, but you don't have to keep it there. You can come over onto the left-hand side of this module that you've just added, and there's like 8 dots. If you click on that with your mouse, and then you can move it wherever you want. So for our purposes, let's move it up to the top. So you can reorder modules at any time. So now you've got this module container sitting at the top, and that's all it is right now. It's an empty box. It's waiting for you to put stuff into it. One more thing to note about this empty box is that at this moment, you just made it, it's an empty box that only you can see. And the way that you know that only you can see it is that it's not green and it doesn't have a check mark. Content that is green and has a check mark, your students can see. They may not be able to interact with it, right? It'll be visible, but they can't do anything with it, okay? Once you click the button on the right to the left of the plus sign that turns green and also has a check mark, then that content becomes officially published. And the word published in Canvas speak means it's live. So students on their page would see that something exists, but they can't interact with it because it has this note beneath that says will unlock April 18th. So now you have a container. And then you're going to want to fill it with stuff. Let me come back here and we'll talk about some things that you can fill it with. I'll put a couple examples up here for just a second to pause and let you process. And then we'll move on to what we might want to fill a module with. Okay. A couple examples of what folks might do with modules. If you're organizing by week, you could put those with a number or add a letter, right? Like in my Canvas courses, I organize by letters, module A, B, C, D. So that way I don't have to worry about the dates and the numbers lining up if something changes. I learned that one the hard way. You can organize again by unit or by content type. How are we feeling? We ready to rock and roll into talking about what we might put in those modules? Fabulous. Let's do that. Okay, so I've guided students to my course by giving them that personalized email from our campus email. I'm now making a plan in Canvas of how I'm going to guide them through that content by organizing those containers in whatever order I want students to be able to engage with them, right? And now I'm starting to think about that next goal on my list, which is how do I connect with students? And that connect means 2 different things, right? How do I connect my students to the content and the information that they need to know and learn? And also, how do I get them to connect to each other? So first, let's start with those questions about content, right? How do I connect students to our course content or our readings? How do I move my assignment sheets and handouts, things I've typically given to students in class, into that online environment? How can I utilize or integrate web resources alongside whatever readings or textbook content I might be generating, right? Can I come alongside with something else? If so, how do I do that? And Canvas's answer to all of these questions is to create something called a content page and then add the content on there. So if we're thinking about modules as being containers, I would invite you to think about a page as being a manila folder. I actually think page is a really crummy name for what this thing does in Canvas. It might be slightly more useful to think about it in like the real world as a manila folder that can hold stuff, but you can also write on the front of it, right? So if you've ever gone to a meeting and you have a manila folder and like you've got all your documents for the meeting in it, but then you've also made notes to yourself on the front of that folder, like don't forget to do this or whatever. It's how a content page works with a few more features in Canvas. Just like a module, pages can hold anything you want them to, right? You get to decide what goes on a page. So you could create a page and then upload readings to that page. You could type instructions on that page. You could upload handouts onto that page. You could embed YouTube videos or other web videos onto that page, along with readings that you've uploaded or instructions that you've written, right? You could put reminders on there or overview content. You can upload a PowerPoint onto a page. You can create a link to an assignment that you want them to do. So it really just becomes a place that holds associated content together that makes sense of that content as having relationships with each other on Canvas. This is easier to see, so let's take a look at it. We're going back to the baking show. Here we are in our class. I've got this unit 6 about ice cream. And remember, it's published, but right now there's nothing in it. It's just an empty box. So I want to.
So much fun.
What's that?
This is so much fun.
Does it make sense to have a baking show with?
Heck yeah, I love it.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll have cake too, because it's not really baking. Yes. It's only ice cream. Unless
I love it.
Okay. All right.
Delicious.
So, so let's add something to this this unit on ice cream. So right now this is an empty box, but not for long. So over here on the right, you're going to see this plus sign on this gray bar for the module. And you're going to choose that plus. And that's your indication to Canvas to say, hey, I want to put something in this container, right? And that module, remember, can hold lots of different things. So if you want to make a page, you got to tell Canvas that's what you want it to do. So Canvas defaults to asking you, do you want to add an assignment in your module? Assuming that you probably need to do assignments for students to grade. But at this moment, we're going to say, no thanks, Canvas. Actually, what I want to do is put a page in there. And if you've already built some content in Canvas, it's going to note that down in this box below, like, do you mean to add the page you've already made? Or do you want a new page? And in this case, we want a new page. And that page name is, I'm going to say Unit 6, Learning Content, How to Bake a Cake. It's getting nice here on Friday, y'all. Here we go. All right, Unit 6, Learning Content, How to Bake a Cake. Okay, so I'm going to add that. And again, with that visual that the module is the container is the big thing at the top, and everything that sits in the container comes underneath. So once you add that page, you're going to see it visually beneath the larger bar of the module. And that's your way of knowing, oh, this nests inside. Okay. So now, go ahead. Yep.
Can I interrupt you? We had a question. Could you show that add pull down menu again?
You bet. Let's put something else in there. We'll just do another one. So top gray bar is the module. Plus on the right is going to open up this new window, and Canvas says, what do you want to add? So typically it defaults to assignment. Since I just made a page, this time it's defaulting to page, but let me show you that. At the top, it's going to say add item to Unit 6, remembering that that is our module. So what content do you want to add? I'm going to come, there's an arrow on the right. It says add on the left. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to choose the type of content I want to add. And in this case, I'm going to add a page. Canvas is going to ask me, what do you want to name that page? Is it a new page, or do you want to add a page you've already created in this course? So I'm going to do another new page. And I'm going to title it. Sometimes Canvas leaves information from the time previous in case you only want to make 1 or 2 wording changes, which can be really nice. So I'm going to come down here to page name, and I'm going to say Unit 6. How about Unit 6 web videos to accompany learning content? How to Bake a Cake. That's a really long title, but very descriptive. There we go. So now I have two pieces of content inside my module. Both of them are pages. At this moment, it's sort of like a folder in a box. There's nothing in that folder yet. So I've still got to go add content to that page for it to be interactive and useful for my students. So a couple things that I'd like to note to you, and right before I pivot into showing you how to put content into that page. As a reminder, Canvas is going to visually let you know what work is done, what work still needs to be done in terms of what the students can see. So if you look on the right, you can see that the module, Unit 6 Ice Cream, has a check mark and a green color on the right, which says it's published. But the content you built within, those 2 pages you just made, have a circle with a slash through it, which means you can see it, teacher, but your students cannot. It does not live for them yet. Personally, I love to edit and then publish, just because it ensures that people don't see stuff until I'm ready for it. But it's just a good reminder that if it's not green, your students can't do anything with it. So it's always good to double check through before you're expecting them to use it. Do you have green light, go, or check mark for everything? So let's go into this how to bake a cake. In order to engage in that page, sorry, that rhymes, you need to click on the title of it. So I'm going to click on Unit 6 Learning Content, and then Canvas is going to say, hey, now you're working on this page. Oh, just a quick check. If someone's email is going off, can you mute yourself? Just because it'll be on our recording. And I'm so sorry you have so many emails coming in. The challenge is real. So here we are in this page of learning content. And we don't have anything yet. We just have a title. But now we're at the place where we can add content. So in order to do that, I'm going to come over to the right of this title of the page to where it says edit. It's got a little pencil. I'm going to click on edit. And now I have an ability to add many things to this page, right? It is not 8.5 by 11 in size. I can put as much stuff on here as I want to, right? It's that manila folder that holds things. So some things that I might want to do in this Unit 6 learning content, how to bake a cake, I might say, welcome to Unit 6. In this unit, we're going to expand upon your dessert making skills by creating a cake from scratch. Okay. So I'm just writing on the page, right? One of the simplest things I can do is I can just take my teacher brain and write stuff. I can invite them into something. I can make a set of directions. I can create an overview to orient them, just like if I were in my classroom and we came in on Tuesday and I said, welcome to Unit 6. Here's some things to know about what we're going to do. I can make that same move online here in this page. And because it's the first thing happening at the top of my page, it's going to organize what they see by the order in which I give it to them in this page, right? So I can write my directions first or my overview first, and then I can start to give them stuff to dig into. So let's say I do my directions and my overview and I invite them to read that. And then down beneath that, now I want to go pull a reading that I have saved on my computer, that if we were in a face-to-face class, I would print that reading on the printer, I would bring it in handout form and I would give it to them. But now we're in an online environment, so I've got to give them that reading. Or if they have a textbook, I could invite them to read the chapter in their textbook, whatever it might be. But let's imagine I want to attach the reading. So here's my cursor saying, do you want it here? And I say, yeah, I've got my instructions. Let me put that, that reading right in there. All right, so here we go. Let's add this reading. So here comes this reading. I've got my cursor here. I've given some instructions, but now I know I need them to have this digital resource that's living on my desktop. So I'm going to come over to the right to this middle tab on the right-hand side that says Files. And I'm going to click on it. And Canvas is going to give me some choices. It's going to say, hey, do you want a link to something you already have in this Canvas course living as a file, or do you want to add a new file? And at this point, let's say I'm new to adding content on this class. I'm going to say I need a new file. So I'm going to come down to where there's a blue plus that says upload a new file, and I'm going to click on that. And then similar to what we see in other digital spaces, there's going to be this box that says choose a file. And that's the box I click on in order to open my desktop or wherever I might want to add that file. So let's imagine that I'm on my desktop, okay? And I locate the file that I want, quiz questions. That does not sound as exciting as baking a cake, but it's what here. So here we go. Quiz questions, and then I'm going to choose open, okay? And then I'm going to come down to this bottom little box here where it says upload, and I'm going to click on that. And then there's little scrolling dots that say, hang on, we're doing our work. And then I'll know that it's uploaded when I see that file appear right where my cursor was when I made the choice to add content, and it's going to be in blue. Okay. And that's also how I know that students can open it. If I want to double check, and I do this all the time, I will right click on it and open it in a new tab to make sure that I actually linked the thing. I would highly suggest that you save it as a Microsoft Doc or some other open access document file, because they're not going to be able to write on a PDF, right? It's easier for us to think about those things if we're printing something for class, but just thinking about how a file is currently saved on your computer and thinking about having to make some of those conversions or keep that in your gray matter for students. If you're a Mac user, Pages, you got to convert them before you put them on, because unless your students have a Mac, they're not going to be able to open those Pages documents, right? So just quick reminders to yourself, sticky notes in your mind to get those into the most universally accessible formats as possible. So you've got your content uploaded, you've got your instructions. Let's say that you also want to add, let's add a TED Talk, right? So let's say, oh gosh, I want to, in addition to having them read, I want them to watch this lecture video. So if you've not used TED.com, it's a great place to go to get students thinking. They typically find TED videos to be really engaging. If my quick movement to TED.com, you're like, ooh, I want to know more about this, but not this week. Next week, when I have more brain capacity to learn something else, worry not, we're on it. We're going to be having sessions on TED Ed and TED.com coming up. So this is just a teaser of more that you could do. So you come to TED, and let's say that, what are the chances? I'm going to look, I have 30 seconds to do this, but I'm just going to look and see. Is there anything on baking on TED? Oh, the chemistry of cookies. This is the video that must go. This is what must go in our Unit 6, people. Okay, so I want this video in there. And so I say, yes, this is what I want. This is the web content I want to go along with their readings, etc. And so I'm going to come here, and there's this button that says share. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to give me a link. So the movement I'm making right now, any link, any web content, right? If it's got a link, you can copy that link, and then you can go back to your course. And when you come into your course, notice we're still working in that same page, right? We've made 3 different moves in the page, but we're still working in the exact same place, okay? And so your students are just going to see this in this order. You can come in, and you can go above where you would write content. You're going to see this little icon that looks like a chain. And there's going to be, if you hover over it, it's going to say link to URL. You can click on it. A pop-up window will appear, and you can paste, Control V, or right click and paste that web video in there, and then click on the button that says insert link, and it will literally make a link that says link. So if you're me, right after it says link, you write a couple words as an instruction to your students, right? You could say link here to the video on baking cookies. It's so great. Please watch it, whatever that might be. Okay, So we've got some content on our page. Let's come down here to the bottom. Here's that moment that Keelan was noting. Let's say that I am coming back into this page and I'm changing content, right? So even if students haven't engaged with this yet, or especially if they have, if I come in and I change things on this page, Canvas has this handy assistant that will reach out and touch your students rather than you having to send an email. You can click this box to notify users that the content on this page has changed. So that way, if you had folks that were already working on here and they come back to this page and they're like, wait, what? This looks different. They've received a message. And you didn't have to email them separately to do that. Thanks, Canvas. So you can come and click this button, this blue button here that says save.
Okay, so Will had a question, and I
All
think
right.
you're going to be answering this right now. The
Yep.
file is uploaded. Will the student be able to download onto their computer, or is it view only?
No, they can download. They can download.
Mhm.
Unless you do some sort of restriction on it, on
Mhm.
your end. Yeah, no, I mean, I put handouts in here all the time in my classes all the time. That
I do
students
too.
can download. They can, apparently this is the hand motion for typing. They can
Yeah.
download. They can type in them and then upload them as their assignment. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So it's going to be anticlimactic, but now I'm going to show you how to indent on that front page. It's not, curb your enthusiasm. Here it comes. So a note, when you get done making a page, Canvas just like deposits you to be able to preview the page you just made. But if you're having that moment of like, wait, where was I? How do I get back to home? Two different ways to get there, right? Thing number one, if you're seriously lost in your own Canvas course, which happens, it can happen, you can look up at the top and it will give you the breadcrumbs of where you are, right? So that you can work your way back. But also you've got this wonderful top button over here that says home. You can always just click home. And ta-da, look, there's your content, right? Here's your module. Here's what I'd love for you to notice about this module. So right now, the module is left aligned as far as it can go. And then the 2 pages beneath are left aligned as far as they can go. If you want to move those pages over, or one of those pages over, to create some sort of organization to the content, you can left click on, is it over here? No, it's over here, I'm sorry. You can right click on the 3 dots on the right, and it'll give you this choice that says increase the indent. Here it comes. Click it. That's all it does. You can do it twice. Nope. Yes, you can.
Breathtaking.
See, sorry.
I'm enthused.
Sorry. It's not as exciting as the cookie video. So that's how you can create indents. But here's a workaround that might be equally useful. And we have not done this week in other sessions, so you're getting something extra special. It's your Friday special. Here it comes. Let's say that you got a bunch of content in this module, and you're worried that students might get a little disorganized on what they're looking at. Under the plus on the right, you can click on this plus, and one of your choices, the same place you would go to add a page, you can hit this arrow drop down, and it's going to give you this option that says text header. These are great. These are more exciting than the indent. So you can choose text header, and it's literally just an internal dividing spot in your module. So let's say that I want to put assignments here. Okay. That's what I'm titling this text header. And then I'm going to add that item. Whoa, look, it's got bigger font. So it creates something visually so that your readers can see like, oh, okay, here's some internal organization within this long string of stuff. And so if, for example, I had this learning content and then these web videos, I could make this text header that says assignments, and then maybe my discussion forum and my quiz come beneath this content header that says assignments. So those do work really well for organizing content. Okay, I want to check in on our time and what feels right for you. We've added pages, so we have now guided students to our course. We've guided them through modules and organizing some information. We've connected them to content by putting that content on pages. And now we're at a moment where we could pivot. So many of you may have questions about discussion forums. Worry not, 2 opportunities where you could look into learning more about how to use discussion forums and what purposes they might serve to serve your students in your classes. We are going to have sessions next week specifically on discussion forums. I think I'm leading a couple of them, so you can see my face again and we can do something on baking cakes, etc.
Yes, and I'll be there too.
And
Yay.
Keelan will be there too, yay! And so that's opportunity number 1. Opportunity number 2 is, this is a great question to take into one of those thought partner sessions. If you'd like a smaller group and a little bit more tailored conversation about how to use discussion forums for the purposes you're envisioning you might need for your classes. So that is coming. We're
And
also
then-
going to, go ahead.
If it's okay, so we have a Padlet, which is a resource. And so as we look at this, I want to, even though it's here in the slide, you can't
Yeah.
click on that. So I want to go ahead and put this in the chat so that you have access to it. This is a crowdsourced document that has, it's evolving. So if you notice that there's some category that we need, something else, because this is basically a way to make sense of all of the noise that's the beautiful stuff, but also sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, it's so much. So how do I organize that information? And also we feature the 3CSN Zoom sessions here too. So there's a link to it. So you can click on that, and we are updating constantly, because right now, you know, as everybody is, you know, letting people know like what they want, we're updating these sessions to meet everyone's needs.
Right.
Okay, Fawn,
So-
definitely we will be
Yeah.
letting you know about the collaboration for sure.
So think
I'll
about
copy
these
it.
as living documents, right? This Wayfinding online Zoom series, if you looked at what we were doing next week a couple days ago, go look again, right? New stuff is coming in all the time, and it's responsive to what you all in the field are telling us that you need. So we're continuing to adapt and develop and serve you as best we can as your needs continue to develop. So that's that Wayfinding online Zoom series option. What Keelan just talked about is the Padlet, which is this great interactive cache of resources and links to information and links to these Zoom videos once we get those up and running. Yes, Keelan?
Yep.
Yep. And
Yeah, it's already there. Yeah. So also, and you can add to it. So there's a place where you can just click plus and you can add resources to it. So
right.
this is a real collaborative effort.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then last but not least, a quick shout out to those thought partner sessions. Again, think of them like coaching sessions where you can come in and one of us or one of our colleagues.
And today it will be me right now at 1 o'clock.
And it's at 1 o'clock. So it's like the office hour that comes right after this class with sadly only virtual cookies and cake, but better than virtual spinach, question mark?
Okay, so one thing that I do want to say just super quickly, and apologies, but if you want to save the chat for today, you go to your chat window where it says to everyone, and then you see file where you can upload files, and there are 3 dots where it says more. You hover over it and then you click on that and it says save chat. So you can actually save the chat that has all of these links and everything in it as we prepare to get the webinar to you all. If you put your name and your email address and your college in the chat, then we'll be able to communicate with you and send you a copy of the webinar and such. And we're just really excited about all of this.
And we're really thankful that you're here. It's like our ability to help each other is exponentially stronger and deeper and better because of one another. So thank you so much for, we know your time is really precious. Thank you for taking that time with us. We appreciate you so much. And we're out of time. So so next up is baking cookies with Keelan at 1. And we hope that you have a fantastic Friday.
Yes, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a great day.